Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much. It's
Well,
my
you've
pleasure.
seen the figures, and it's the first time we have a slight drop for a while now. So what do you make of the recent development, and what does it mean for a lot of people out there?
For the first time, we're having this decrease. Um, Even though it is marginal, but at least in the last 19 months, this is the first time we're having such a decrease. I am thinking it's a good development, and we're expecting that we sustain all the indices that are making it decelerate so that we can sustain this going forward. I can see that the market is actually already responding to the announcements of the removal of import duties and all those.
But is it?
Yes.
Is it? Can we attribute it? I mean, what we are seeing to
There
partly
are a
to
few
that?
yes, there are a few
Because
factors.
I think that particular import suspension of imports just started. When was it? Was it not this week? I think it should be this week. I mean, last week. Sorry.
Yeah, markets respond to information. Markets respond to announcements. If you go through the capital market, you see that once there's an announcement concerning a particular company or the other, a particular market, you see that the market will respond immediately. This is a response in anticipation of what is going to happen. So we expect that when that announcement happened, market was already beginning to respond, to adjust themselves. However, you know that this reduction actually happened just around the food inflation area, just marginally. And we could say that because of the time of the season, seasonal pricing, a lot of items are being harvested around this time in agriculture. And
that brings me to
Yes.
talk about this particular move by the federal government to suspend import duties.
That's right.
The fact that at this point in time we begin to see harvest some food items coming into the market which are newly produced, and is somehow affecting the cost. I mean, the cost that consumer can now go out there and buy it. But the thing here is, some people argue that at this point in time, it's not actually the time to actually remove the suspension of the import, because when you look at it, if you look at the window given for the suspension of import duties, it's not a very long period. It will soon elapse. Yeah. Then we'll go back to the normal way of doing things. But when you look at it on the long run, the issue of food prices, high cost of food prices might likely surface in a later time when we're done with maybe harvest season.
This is a stopgap measure. This is a stopgap measure to check the inflation and to also reduce the hunger that is pervading everywhere. A period of 6 months is good enough to enable the government to adjust. And when we're talking about the government, we should be able to, in fact, think more of the subnationals. It's an opportunity for state governments to actually grow a lot of food, enough food. There are a lot of opportunities for state governments to be able to grow food. And these opportunities exist because they have arable land all over the place. Even if they don't have this land, we have green farms that can be grown everywhere, and different items of agriculture can actually be grown. I usually would say, and I still insist, that if every state government contributes to the pool of food supply, we're not going to be having all this food insecurity that we're having currently. So this is just a stopgap to enable the government to check to see what needs to be done in order for food to grow, and to enable importers to bring in this. I don't expect that this window has to extend more than 6 months, because if it extends more than 6 months, the local manufacturers of food items in their food chain will actually relax again, because competition will just throw them out of the market. So it shouldn't go beyond the 6 months to enable the government and the people to adjust and to actually
But
take that decision that will
do you
sustain it.
think with what the government have put in place, do you see it addressing the challenges of food insecurity in the
To a
future
reasonable
going forward?
yes, to a reasonable extent, it will. That's why I call it a stopgap. Don't forget that once we open the borders and remove all import duties for food importation, that means a lot of people are going to go into importation of food, and if that happens, the pressure will come again back to foreign the FX area, and so if that happens, it may affect again the exchange rate, which we expect to be coming down. But if we have more and more people bringing in food into the country, it may affect exchange rates. So that may actually jeopardize whatever effort the government may want to achieve by removing the import duties, because the demand for exchange foreign currency will just increase. And so these are the things we need to monitor to see the impact of the two sides, the removal of import duty and the increase in the demand of FX.
Now, on a sustainable basis, what would you like to see?
On a sustainable basis, the period should not extend beyond 6 months. Of course, I know that when an
I understand the period.
Yes.
I'm talking about food security now.
Yeah,
on
food
a
security
sustainable basis.
on sustainable basis, we need to, just like I said, government has to take a major decision. Government, federal, and government in the states should actually, up to local government areas, everybody, all the local government areas have lands they can actually cultivate with all the agricultural loans here and there. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of people growing one thing or the other in order for us to sustain this particular gesture.
Okay, now that we've seen the CBN focus on actually tightening monetary policy. With what we have seen with the inflation figures, what do you think they should do in the next MPC meeting?
Yeah, you know, we have always argued that the impact of monetary policy tightening has not been there so much to actually try to reduce the inflation rate. But we can tell you that this is a combination of the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. All the decisions taken by government today are all the fiscal policy decisions, but we will still not rule out the impact, the positive impact the tightening of the monetary policy has had on this economy. So this is a combination of both the monetary and the fiscal policy to be able to achieve the level of improvement that we have, even though marginal, but it's a combination of factors.
Okay. So, well, a combination of both monetary and fiscal policy, you said. And we have seen also the 180 days quick win by the federal government, which allows the importation of 250,000 metric tons of wheat and maize, as well as mechanization. How should we embrace? You talked about greenhouse farming.
Yes.
How well positioned are we to actually take advantage of these opportunities, because a lot of our farms are insecure?
Yes, you know, that was why I was deliberate by mentioning greenhouse farms, because when we talk about the open farm, that's where we talk about the insecurity. So once we cannot get to the open farms that can actually expose the farmers to such insecurity, then we can resort to greenhouse farms that are going to be spread all over the place. The state governments can afford this. Investors can afford this. So if we have a good number of them spread all over the place, I am certain that we are going to be having enough food supply that will reduce the food insecurity. This is also a window for some kinds of importation of agricultural machinery to come in for those who are able to secure their own farmlands to come in, so that more and more input will have to go into that area. So it's a good thing that is happening, and it gives us a little leverage into having space to develop what we want to develop.
But does the CBN needs to go into development finance in this situation?
Yeah, it's not dealing directly with the people, because that's actually what was condemned before. We didn't want that to continue to happen directly. There are development institutions that are meant for these kind of interventions. So we do not want the CBN to directly intervene with this, because the last one that was done wasn't just well executed. So this is the time to start using the development institutions, development banking institutions, to be able to take care of all the various sectors of the economy, so that CBN, their own function is just to fund these development institutions, so that they will avoid funding directly to stakeholders.
Okay, but how can CBN make a monetary policy instrument more effective? Looking at the amount of money in circulation, we've seen the last report by the CBN shows a huge amount of the money runs into trillions out there, and they're not actually in the bank vaults. How do we make monetary policy tool more effective?
In the past, we have seen that in the last 1 year or even two, the monetary policy tools have not been able to achieve so much in trying to reduce inflation rate. You see that all the time the rates will be mentioned, and the monetary policy rates will just be mentioned, and of course the reason for that increase will just be to be able to checkmate the increase in inflation rate. But in our own case, Nigerian case, it's not been able to do that because of the other factors that have been responsible for the exchange, for the inflation rate, factors that are not within their purview, within their control. We have mentioned insecurity in the farmland, and of course, even though exchange rate is within their purview, but it is still not part of what reducing money circulation achieves to do. So once we have exchange rates increasing the cost of goods and services, and we have other factors like power and electricity costs, increasing cost of doing business. These are all the areas that are not within the control of CBN. So we need to have a restricted use of monetary policy, because these other factors are also working against the monetary policy achievements.
Okay, quick one. Are we likely to see cuts in interest rates, or maybe the CBN will decide to just hold?
When you also see when you see the trend at which the reduction of the yes, there is an increase, but the percentage of increase has continued to reduce. Okay. We expect that CBN will have to hold at this stage, at least for the first time. Let them hold in few quarters in the past. Let them hold to watch the extent of what they have done to see the impact. So we expect that CBN should be able to hold, so that the continuous increase of MPR will not work against the control of inflation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chijioke Ikechukwu, economist. Thank you very much for sharing your thought with us.
Thank you very much.